The Sisters Grimm podcast is intended for mature audiences only. Please listen at your own discretion.
Tiptoe through the window.
The blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
The most notorious serial killer in the nation, the Night Stalker,
the Boston Strangler,
the Son of Sam, the infamous Zodiac Killer.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Get away from her, you bitch!
Welcome to the Sisters Grimm podcast.
How'd you do this? Show you.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Sisters Grimm podcast. I'm Morgan Freeberg.
And I'm Holly.
I thought you were gonna go into it like a movie, and I'm
in a
Holly
world.
Freeberg.
In a world where I'm a podcast host, and my name. In a world where you're Holly.
You're
Freeberg.
turning Jigsaw real quick.
Yeah, I'm also not great at impressions. So welcome, everybody. Like we said, this is just a stream of conscious episode because we haven't done one in a while, and we're like, why not?
Yeah, we haven't put an episode out in probably 2 months?
It's September. I would say that we put
June.
one out in June. So yeah, that's more than 2.
Yeah. Also, the place where
July,
we record,
August,
it has
September,
no
3
sort of air conditioning or anything, and it gets 100 degrees up here, and it's a really
very
nice
waspy too, as we've
fall
mentioned
day
before.
So it's lovely up here right now, actually.
I'm cold. So we wanted to kind of start out because we took a break kind of during all of the Black Lives Matter, all of the
When everything was getting
protesting,
really
all the
big,
rioting.
we really wanted to listen and pay attention and
Learn.
And
But there were things that I was thinking about during the time.
Yeah.
To the point where I started just writing it down. And it has to do, with true crime and with Black people. And how, white serial killers are almost novel. And
Right.
it's because Black people have been villainized unrightly or unjustly so much that because if they do commit a crime, it's just obviously, but when it's a white person, it's
why did they do it?
How
could someone that looked like Ted Bundy pull it off?
Exactly. They're romanticized, they're fetishized, and they did horrible things
Disgusting,
to people.
depraved,
But because
awful
they're
things.
white, it's more interesting or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, a thing I've
Or it's
noticed.
more covered.
Right, exactly. I read a fair amount of stuff for this, and I was reading that some news stations or whatever, if they are white, will feel like it's racist for them to talk about Black criminals, but it's you have to cover both. You're not being racist for talking about a criminal.
Yeah, and
based
you're
on their
also
color.
not being a real news reporter if you're not talking about everything that's going on.
And then to also on top of that be so enthusiastically talking about white killers is kind of bonkers.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know. I mean, me personally, when I think of Black serial killers, the only one I can think of is the Atlanta child murder, and I think a lot of people think that he was innocent, and I feel like I'm also in that camp.
Okay, I don't know a ton about that story, but
So then, kind of segueing into what we were going to talk about next, regarding Black serial killers, is I started. Well, no, actually, it started with a newspaper article from the Times
that
magazine.
we have in front of us right now.
This is actually a different article if I want to get techies.
Oh, okay.
But anywho, there was a bug on my notes. Gross.
Rude.
So, there's this podcast, and it's new. The host is Phil Chalmers, and it's called Where the Bodies Are Buried. He's been doing investigative journalism for over 30 years. He's talked to so many serial killers. He's very picky about the serial killers that he talks to. And so this is just in regards to what I'm going to say, or like what the killer. So I feel like a lot of the
Basically,
times
how this story that we're about to say got out there was because of this podcast.
of this,
Literally, that's why.
literally, because he was having a so he in his podcast, I should say, he talks to serial killers. And his most recent episode, he talks to freaking David Berkowitz. So that's a pretty big deal. Also, this serial killer, he was called the Interstate Killer, and his name is Delmas Colvin.
How many people were called the Interstate Killer, though? I feel like
lot,
we've
but
heard that so many times.
I think it was like Interstate X.
Interstate
or Interstate
80?
Y. Interstate, no, just like different roads. But this one was on Route 80.
I know.
So the reason it hit home is because literally offhandedly, well, not offhandedly, but the host asks him, because the host also tries getting confessions out of him just by having conversations with them. Sometimes they will just start talking about ones if you ask them the right questions.
Totally.
This man, Delmas Colvin, though, will not talk about murders he committed in states where the death penalty is still in place, because he currently is in prison in Ohio, and he has life without parole. So he has basically the most severe sentencing beneath, the death penalty. And he doesn't want to die because, he's a fucking psychopath. And he is a psychopath.
How old is he?
He's in...
He's like 60s now?
He's probably in his 60s, I want to say. Yeah, because he was doing this. He was killing women. He was a trucker, and he would kill sex workers while he was like at truck stops and whatnot, because he would just go up and down. But he did it. He started in 1983.
Right, yeah. So he's probably in his 60s now.
Long time ago. And so the reason it was, oh my gosh, I got like chills listening to the podcast, because the host asks him, like, if, like, of all of your kills, which would be the easiest for you to, like, pinpoint, like,
Right.
and tell people, like, where the body was. And he's like, oh, LaSalle for sure.
So that's his most, like, prominent in his memory killing.
Yeah,
is this
the
one.
host even said that, like, when he talks to him, he spoke about it like he'd...
Like it was just yesterday.
Yeah, like he could... And, I mean, it was... So this murder that he confesses to that happened in LaSalle, Illinois...
So also, obviously, we've talked a million times how we're from Ottawa, Illinois. That is very close to LaSalle and Peru, Illinois, which is, like, the only close town by us that has, like, a Target, a mall, a movie theater, all of these things that... so obviously, we've been going there our entire lives, so that's why it hits close to home.
Right. And so he confesses literally on this podcast. And I just want to say, before I talk about his confession, rather, that, I mean, I guess you have to take anything a serial killer says with a grain of salt.
Right.
But this guy, Phil Chalmers, the host, he has been talking to this guy for a long time. He only talks to people who, like, are really telling the truth. Also, he'll ask him about other crimes, and the guy will be like, no, I had nothing to do with that. So he realizes the position he's in, I think.
Well, and this one he pretty much brought up apropos to nothing. Like
I mean, he was asked a question, and he was able to answer
he
it.
wasn't like, well, what about that one here?
Right,
Or what
no.
about, like, your time over? Like, it was just very much so like, well, this is what happened.
Well, because-
like, and why would he just bring up... It's not like it was anything super crazy or even that, like... unique, I guess?
Basically, yeah.
Does that
So
make sense?
he was at Flying J truck stop.
Right.
It has a Denny's now. I don't know if it had a Denny's in 2005.
It also has a BP.
It's a gas station and a truck stop, and, like, there's a restaurant there, like a lot of these places. And so then there's also, like, if you're not familiar with truck stops, question mark?
So we live right off of Route 80, which is a huge interstate, and so there's truck stops all over it by us. Like, there's even...
There's
a sex store by our town that has an area for truckers to go.
Right next to the strip club.
Right next to the strip club. It's also a sex shop that you can, like, go into and, like, jerk off in rooms and, like,
Yeah, if you want to change the
It's
scenery
like
from your
that
cab.
kind of a town that we live in.
We live in a 2 strip club town. One of the strip clubs has a pole, and the other one has streamers. It's whatever.
And Holly's been to both.
What? No, I haven't been to streamers. It's not called streamers.
I was gonna say.
Shout out to the Lamplighter, and shout out to... What's the other strip club called? Silver
Slipper.
Okay, cool. Anyways.
Saloon.
Not... Right. Don't throw off that saloon. Any hoozle. So back to this guy. So yeah, he just offhandedly is like, "Oh yeah, LaSalle." And so okay, anyway, so back to what truck stops look like. They're like, they just are big, like
I'm sure
shelters.
people have seen them at rest
Yeah.
areas. There's always like the area where the trucks can go.
Yeah, exactly. It's where the trucks go.
Yeah.
So a girl,
Because a lot of the time like most of the time they sleep in their trucks, so they have to pull over.
well, yeah,
and
they have their
sleep in
cabs,
trucks.
and this dude, Delmas, Morgan dropped something. Delmas was doing paperwork in his cab, and this white sex worker, she came to the door and was probably trying to, hang out with him, and he like told her to leave him alone, and she kind of wouldn't stop, and so he brought her in. Literally just brought her to his cab where like is his room and where his bed is, put her down in the
Which
bed.
is usually right behind like the seat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like their driving seat.
Yeah, that's like their little cubby. So I guess if they get bored jerking off in there, they can go to the Silver Slippers. Or no, I'm sorry, they can go to Brown Bag.
Yeah, brown bag.
I feel
video.
like during COVID, they shouldn't have those open. But anyway, let's not talk
Probably
about
they
that.
don't, honestly.
Well, at any rate.
Remember when we went by because we thought it was open and they were only doing curbside, and we were like, "What are you curbside picking up from here?"
dildos?
Literally.
Do you remember when I got in trouble
Bongs.
for taking a picture with a dildo?
Is that what you were
was
taking a
big.
picture with? I thought you were taking a picture with
No.
like a magazine.
No. It was
They are very much so like no
very
pictures.
large dildos. Yeah, they're like, don't take
All right,
pictures
we
of our
shouldn't
dildos.
we shouldn't be throwing so much shade. I love brown bags.
I
Do not
love
get me
dildos.
wrong.
That's why I wanted a picture with one. Anyway, so so he killed her, and then he drove. He got back on the interstate and went to this little side road where there was an abandoned truck wash, and it's kind of a little bit shady back there. I mean, there is a place called the Tiki Inn. There's like those places you can go for like sensual happy ending massages.
Right.
It's like kind of
Yeah,
you know,
so that's all I know about that
kind of a
area.
Wild
okay, so
West over there.
What else is crazy about where the body was dumped is that before I heard the story, I literally drive by this place daily when I'm home. Because I come home like, a couple of times a week if I can, and I always like to go get my coffee in LaSalle because it's a nice drive. I listen to a
Morgan
book
lives
on
in Chicago.
Audible.
If you haven't, if this is your first episode,
But when I'm here, that's like how I like to start my mornings, and I always take this like kind of more like empty back road. And now I'm like, every time I pass it, I'm gonna be like, wow, well that's where a body was dumped. And it's scary. It's like this
It's a
scary
little creepy.
abandoned building that has like tagging all over it. I mean, like, I guess it's not that crazy to us because there's so many, like, just abandoned, tagged buildings, like, in all of
But you
our
never
towns and the
know.
towns around us.
right? So obviously, when this podcast came out, the Illinois police were like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
and so they obviously have started investigating.
Well, which
that
is
area.
good because I mean
Well, yeah.
that's good that like pretty immediately they're taking action. They could have easily been like,
the
whatever.
day after.
That's awesome. They really
I
easily
know.
could have been like, well, we don't.
And
We're not gonna.
I mean,
we don't trust the whatever.
likelihood. I mean, just the what should I say? The odds of them finding evidence aren't really stacked in their favor.
Because it happened in the 80s or
No,
did it happen
because
in the 90s?
It happened in 2005, so it's
still a
15
long
years
time ago.
old. He didn't bury her, or if he did, he barely did. He didn't really say, but he made it seem like he just dropped
he
her
just
body
kind
back
of
there.
left it and left.
And to describe the area, it's kind of just like overgrown brush.
It's like a very
But
like
it's-
it looks like it was probably something built in like the 70s.
It's old.
It's a little just like kind of like a shack.
It's very decrepit. There's a lot of buildings that are just kind of abandoned and
it's kind of
creepy
on this
road.
middle of nowhere road
Yet
with like
you're
cornfields.
literally right next to 80, but also
and
working,
like all of the downtown area of Peru.
working against them is the fact that wildlife is very, very
Yeah.
prevalent in the area. So the likelihood of her body
Being there
being
is
dispersed all over the
very
place because
unlikely.
of animals.
Yeah,
is
if it
really
had been
likely.
buried, then there's a chance. But
Possibly, I'm
I
not
think
sure.
it's real.
I think it
real.
might. Yeah, I don't know, but but like you were saying, it's super awesome that they are still pursuing this.
Mm-hmm.
Also, working against them is the fact that she may not be local,
Yeah.
and because she was a sex worker and that is like a high risk job.
Yeah, she could have gotten there from another truck driver for all we know.
Yeah, and which really fucking sucks that, just because people have jobs that are a little more off the radar, that puts them at more of a risk. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that shouldn't be a reason. Like, we
Right.
shouldn't be mad at people who do things who like just want to live their life. We should be mad at the people who are taking advantage of those people.
Totally.
Because that's, I mean, this guy talks about too, the killer, that there are still several, because we've heard of there's so many interstate, because there are so
there's
many
probably
trucker
dead bodies
serial
just
killers.
all over.
Oh, there are, well, I mean,
all over.
with cemeteries, yes.
Well, right.
Right, but like I know what you're talking about. But yeah, so it's incredible. The opportunity for them to kill these women is so easy, and
they can even be super
shitty.
smart about it and only do it in states where the death penalty isn't even a thing.
Right.
You know, like
That
if you
too.
really want, I don't know why I'm giving like ideas, but you know what I mean, like.
I mean, yeah, who knows? I mean,
It's crazy.
I would
But
imagine.
what's
they would
also
think
crazy
that.
is today I was going to get my coffee and they had that road completely blocked off. You literally can't even go down it right now.
Right. So today
So that-
is September 9th, the day that
Yeah.
we're recording this, and maybe when this one will come out.
Probably.
And so last week, I think the podcast came out like a week or so ago,
Yeah.
and not long after that did they start searching the area for bones and stuff or other things, and they did find 2 pieces of bone, but they
Or animal bone.
Yeah.
That was confirmed today.
that came out like last night, today-ish
Mm-hmm.
time. But they're still looking today. That's why Morgan
Yeah.
couldn't go on that road, because today they
I was trying
restarted.
so hard to see. I literally like got as close as I could and was like
I know.
almost head out my sunroof like, hello? Just kidding. I didn't do that, but
I want to be like, I hope you guys. Well, they were. They're also.
I want to be like,
using
can I help?
cadaver
Like, because I know a
dogs.
lot of the times they ask for people to help in search parties. Like, I would totally help.
Yeah, me too. I would like sift through the dirt for a very long time if it meant like helping, like giving someone else closure.
Yeah,
I would
totally.
totally do that, and just for that that woman who we don't even know her freaking name.
He doesn't. Obviously, he doesn't know her name.
No.
because she probably, if gave a name, probably could have given him a fake one.
Exactly, and that's what he said happened a lot of time.
Totally.
Of the time. Also, I would like to say that I did really like the podcast, and I think it's good. And maybe it was just this Delmas guy, but I did not like hearing, like, if he wasn't a serial killer, the way in which him and the host were talking, you'd think that they were talking about
Anything. It
anything.
was just too casual.
It was
for
too
you.
casual. It
Yeah.
was far too casual. So taking it out of the realm of one quick thing though I did want to talk about
Sure.
in when I was looking up like black people and like true crime related stuff. There is an awesome streaming service. You have to have a certain cable provider, I think, but it's been a while. But it's called TV One, and it's all black true crime. Like all of the hosts of the
awesome.
TV shows are black. All of the like stories that they cover are black, which is awesome because, like I was saying before, those ones don't generally get covered. Oh, another thing I wanted to point out before is when white women are killed or kidnapped or whatever, they're always
that's a
remembered.
big thing.
They're remembered as like mothers and daughters and the futures they could have had. When it's a person of color, they usually are like, what kind of a guy were they dating,
or like
were they doing
totally
drugs?
just brushed over altogether without even being talked about, which is really devastating and fucked up.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a lot of resources in like this episode, like that you can go to donate or just anything that you can do to help. And Holly will also put that streaming service so people can watch
check
that
it out.
too.
There's also a Hulu special on Breonna Taylor.
Yeah,
Is it
but-
not good?
Well, it's like. This is the thing that people are mad about, I think.
Oh, is it like not soon enough, probably? Or
No,
that...
it's that, like, all this stuff is happening. Like, she was on the cover of Vanity Fair. Now, like, I think it's the New York Times is making this documentary on Hulu.
Okay.
But, like, that's not what people want. People want justice. People want her killers arrested. They don't...
That is,
like,
yeah, exactly.
If you're doing stuff to make money, to, like, sell
Exactly.
magazines or whatever, Hulu subscriptions... But, like, that's not what people are asking for.
Yeah.
People are
That's-
asking for justice.
Exactly. We want justice. We don't want to. I'll take justice over a fucking true crime documentary. Yeah. And that's coming from someone who really likes documentaries and true crime. Speaking of, to segue over to just basically, I think we're going to talk about Shudder for the next, like, 30 years.
Oh.
Because we
so
watched
okay,
that
so
awesome...
segueing. I'm still very much so in the other... Okay.
So yeah, change your mindset. Like blah, 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 blah.
That's how you do it.
Yeah. So
No, yeah. So we've been watching a fuckload of Shudder. Shudder is so dope. I love
Shudder
it.
Originals, fucking
Slap.
yeah. We are there. Stan.
Yeah, that's been our like new bingey thing that we've been doing
We
in
watched-
quarantine when we're together is just binging Shudder movies.
Well,
I've been watching a lot of just their documentaries because there's a shit
so
ton
that
of
one
really cool
documentary,
ones.
the '80s documentary we watched.
Oh, yes,
4
there
hours
is
long.
a 4.5-hour documentary specifically on 80s horror movies, and it is so fucking good. If you are a huge fan of horror, which I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you are, or maybe you're more of a true crime person,
or
but that's fine.
if you're super duper into '80s pop culture,
Yeah, that
which like
too.
I am.
Yeah. It's like,
So
what were you
much.
saying? It's kind of like, that's what I call the 80s, but just horror.
That's what I call the '80s.
Is that what that show is called? Or am I thinking of the Now CDs?
You're thinking of now?
You just threw a pen at me.
Not on
A
purpose.
Marriott Country Yard pen.
Sponsored by.
What was it called?
No, it was called I Love the '80s. No, that's what I call. I'm sure
No, that's
now.
what I call the 70s.
No, you're thinking
That
of-
70s show.
Shut up. No, yes.
Yeah, that
so
shit was great.
It was yes, because it's like Talking Heads, and it's all people from that were in horror movies now.
that were
people
either in them, that were like,
There's a lot of crossover, like a lot.
yeah,
of
a lot of the people who are in it, who worked on it, who directed it, who starred in it, whatever. It's a really cool documentary,
cool.
and it was definitely worth. I mean, it took us what, like 2 days to watch. I think we just like watched it. We'd watch it, pause it, watch it, pause it.
Yeah, because I mean, it'd be like AMC. I think Shudder is an AMC original. No, it's
Affiliate?
an AMC's like streaming service, and that's why
cool.
they're so tight with Eli Roth. Because remember all the AMC Eli Roth stuff that used to happen like
Yeah,
10 years
his
ago?
show, the horror history with Eli Roth, is so good. Also, and the second season he has announced is coming soon, which I'm so excited for.
Yeah, he has a lot of good
Love
shit
him.
on Shudder as well.
Also, I tried starting. So I've watched every documentary that there's ever been made about the Friday the 13th film franchise because I love them. But
Are you cringe
there's
now?
this one. I should know what it's called, and I don't. But I think it's called like Camp Crystal Lake, like the whole whatever. And I started watching it.
The
It
whole
is
damn thing?
6.5 hours,
Well, like I was saying,
which is so
it's
much.
like if you were watching like a series on AMC.
Yeah, it's cool. I like that
commercials.
they're doing stuff like that because they're giving a lot of voice to things people like. When I was like 13 or whatever, and I had like that to my fingertips of like horror stuff I could watch. Like I used to just watch like the Scream movies with the commentary on like 5 times in a row on my VHS
But do you
or
think
DVD.
I'm thinking this now? Do you think the way that horror movies were presented to us in our generation and the one before it too, like, only being able to see them in movie theaters, only being able to get them on VHS tapes, not having these movies at your fingertips, does that make them more precious because like you had to like wait and because
Totally.
you could physically hold it
When
in
you
your
finally got it. I
hand?
remember when I finally bought all of the Scream movies because we just had the third one for like ever.
And you had to like ride in the car to go get it. You're not just sitting
Yeah.
on your couch waiting for it to like
Oh
finally
my gosh,
drop
yeah.
on
It was
Netflix.
it's such an appreciation. I guess that's right, but that's also like to kind of turn that around, knock it down, and just say something else that I've been feeling personally in my own heart
Spill it, sis.
is that like I loved true crime so much, like, when I was like younger and even up until recently. And it's not
Well,
that
I
I'm
hope
not
you
as
still
into
love-
this is what I'm
oh.
saying is that like I love making the podcast so much, but a lot of the times having to read true crime stories and like knowing that I have to, it's a big bummer when it's like all you're kind of doing for a while.
Oh.
And like the reason that I feel more
1,000%.
comfortable saying this is because I've been watching this YouTuber Bailey Zarian, and she says the same stuff. Like she's like, I have to take breaks because
It's a lot.
It's because like even like some of the stuff we don't say, or like there's a lot of stuff we don't say because it's
but we
just
still had to read
fucked
it
up, exactly, or like see the pictures, or
and especially when we do like the heavy hitters and we have to be like
when you're
really reading details about them, and they're so
well, I was just gonna say even sometimes
fucking
just
bad.
like when I'm because the way that like when we're doing our state killers, the way that or like country killers, like different countries, the way I like to like go into that is I go on Murderpedia. And I'll just like click like all the C murders, and then I'm like, okay, because then it breaks it down by where it happened. But like by doing that, I've realized that I just read about so many really brutal just murders, but there's like not that much information for me to like ever really use it. But it's still like I'm reading it, and I'm like, oh, another one of those. Oh, another one of those. It's mostly just a lot of rape.
Yeah,
which is really fucked up and hard to read
it's really
all
hard.
the time. So that is why we take breaks sometimes.
And that's why we
And that's
also
not the only
do
reason.
horror movies and we do
Yeah.
other horror related things.
Yeah, well, but even like watching a ton of horror movies can be really draining. Like, I mean,
That's why I watch horror movies with, some ha-has in there.
I didn't think that's what you were going to say. But yeah, no, that's the apropos of nothing. I've just been thinking it personally lately, so I thought I would see how you feel about that, because you're way more into true crime, and I'm way more into horror. I mean, we're both really into horror. I'm more into, like, classic horror. You're more into, like, obscure, really fucked up shit.
Yeah. I'm into like you like older stuff. I'm not a fan of Nosferatu, but bringing it back to
like
the
a big
80s.
fan of Nosferatu.
Nosferatu's biggest fan sitting across from me right the
Probably
fuck now.
because of all the other ones have died.
Yeah. Well, no, but yeah, I mean, it is mostly 80s, and you're right, it is mostly fucked up ones. But on that note, I have realized with age that my tolerance for
Same.
the really fucked up, like, emotionally fucked up, like disturbing, I guess I would say, those I can still kind of handle, but gory, like I've said it before on this podcast, but when it's just straight up gore for no reason.
Yeah, those are not movies that super duper interest me, but I also get it. I totally get
Like,
why
just
other people
they're
like
gross out. I mean, yeah, and if that's your thing, that's totally your thing. And I mean, like when I was like in my 20s, I was watching, like Faces of Death videos and was
them.
like,
Yeah, you really were.
totally fine. I'm watching like Serbian film and just like totally fine about it.
Right, like eating a mac and cheese dinner at the same
But
time.
we're gonna get into some movies and like horror TV shows that we've been watching, and I was watching the movie Swallow. It's new. It's on Amazon Prime. I know. I'm sure it's other places too.
Like you have to rent it on Amazon Prime, or it's free.
You rent it on Amazon Prime, but it's only for $4.99, and it's worth it.
Okay.
It's really good. Visually, it's very beautiful. I mean, it is obscure, but it is about this woman who gets pregnant. She's not in like the greatest relationship with her husband, but she gets pica, which is when you have the taste for things that aren't food, basically. Like I think the most common is like people eating dirt, and it can happen to women.
Dirt? That's not the one that I think of. I think of
People
My
eating-
Strange Addiction.
Well, yeah,
Because they're just people being like, I
eat
people do
mattress.
crazy stuff
They
on that
do.
show, because I instantly went to the lady who does coffee enemas every day.
Right,
But that's
no.
not an eating thing, but that was the first thing that popped
I
into
mean,
my head.
how can it not be?
Yeah, eating her couch cushion.
Yeah.
There was that one lady who like was addicted to eating toilet paper.
Right. Yes, I remember her, and I remember a baby powder one, and like.
Ooh, that
So-
would be hard. That's like doing the cinnamon challenge. How the fuck would you even do that?
And I also feel like you would aspirate, like when you're eating a powdered donut and you like
Yeah,
accidentally
that's what
breathe
happens
in.
when you do the cinnamon challenge.
So, anyways, so
Sorry, I just thought of
people-
a really funny
it's-
cinnamon challenge.
it's
thing.
a okay. Tell me later, please. So they're and it happens with women, and I think it's related to certain vitamins your body needs, and you're not getting, and so it's making
it makes you crave it.
But I think it's also, I don't know. For her, it kind of seemed like a power thing, like because she could control what she was swallowing. But anyway, I'm just gonna say she swallows.
A thumbtack, you said, right?
Yeah. Well, so first I'm watching, and she swallows. Spoiler alert: a marble.
Which is nothing. I've swallowed a marble.
What?
When I was younger, I used to maybe have that because I used to eat like beads and marbles and stuff.
That just
You
sounds
know,
like a
you
weird
told
kid
mom and
thing.
dad that I ate a nail, and so I had to go to the hospital, and I'd actually just eaten the back of an
Oh
earring.
my god! There was a pile of
Nails?
things.
Why?
No, there was just like, I don't know. There were screws. The screw was gone. I mean, better.
thought I had
What
eaten
should I
it.
not say anything?
No, I'm glad you did.
So, anyways, And I'm feeling, so anyways, I'm watching this movie and I start feeling viscerally like sick. Like I thought if I hadn't been laying down, I would have passed out. I got this like flop sweat on my forehead because she like eats the marble and she eats a fucking thumbtack, and just the thought like
of it moving through your body. Well, a marble would just help you clear some stuff out.
No, don't eat marbles.
I'm not saying to eat them. I'm just saying you could definitely, your body could handle it most likely, unless you have,
It could get clogged in things, and it could be
That's
very,
true.
very,
No, you're
very,
very
very bad.
You're right.
Yeah, so I turned it
The
off.
nail or the thumbtack, that is like, no, thanks.
Yeah, because another part of it is like they don't show, but like another part of it is her passing it through her body, which, ends in poop. And so her like butthole gets a little messed up, and so that's when I had to turn it off.
Ooh, they show it?
Not at all.
There's talk about it?
I mean, you see like blood.
I'm thinking about it.
It's tastefully done. I will say it is tastefully done. I don't know how that you can do it.
Done.
I don't know, but they did it. They did it.
Okay.
It is a beautiful movie, and I am very glad. But I mean, I'm glad that I went back to it, and I may not have if I hadn't paid for it. But I was like, well,
Yeah.
And so I watched it. I finished it up, and like that was like kind of the worst part of it, and the
Was
rest
the
of it was
thumbtack?
super good. There was one thing though, because it like shows like a little like a tray, because she like keeps everything as like trophies after they go through her, and they showed something that looked like, I don't know, like a Precious Moments figurine, and I was like, okay,
Right.
that came out your butt.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. It didn't. Also, another movie I watched, that one was on Amazon Prime. This next one, it's called One Bedroom. I think it's on Netflix. And it's super good. It's about this girl, and she moves into an apartment that's like its own little community. And I'll just leave it there because I went in blind, and you should too. Oh, the screensaver on this is just bubbles.
Well, what else did we watch recently on Shudder? I watched that Cursed Films documentary. It's like I think it's like 7 episodes, and each episode's a different film, and it's really good. I mean, I only watched like the movies I'm pretty aware of, but that's most of them.
So, Shudder also has original series.
Yeah, which is really cool.
And on that, they also have what are called podcast experiences. Which
I haven't done any of
are, well, I got into one because there is this actor, and I'm simping / fangirling over him so hard, probably just even by talking about him. His name is Chase Williamson, and he is like the king of Shudder. He's and he's like
really?
in so
Wait.
many horror movies. You will probably know
movie.
who
I
he
thought you were
is.
talking about documentary wise, and I'm like, are you talking about the Blumhouse guy who's in
no.
everything? The guy with the glasses. I can't think of his first name right now for some reason.
No, this
but he's
dude-
like one of the head producers in Blumhouse, and he's in every single documentary. Because I think maybe he has a hand in Shudder. Maybe
Probably.
a little bit, yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, no, this guy, Chase Williamson, he's been in like so many good horror movies and ones that I've watched recently, and they're super good. And then also, I mean, I do have ADHD, so that's why I scatterbrained. Any Hoozle, the Shudder podcast experience, he has one, and it's
cool.
like a scripted one, and it is a VHS collector, and he like finds this mysterious tape with like an occult conspiracy on it, and it's him and like his girlfriend, and it's super cool, which is weird because he's also in this movie, which I have talked about on this podcast, called Beyond the Gates, which is when their dad owned a VHS store and like a video store.
Dope.
And he dies, and they're cleaning it out, and they find like one of those VHS games, like those horror games that you would play, and they play it, and shit goes bad,
It's Jumanji like.
yeah, it's bad. But he's also in this great movie called Lace Crater. I don't know if I've talked about that on here, but basically this like girl has sex with the ghost, and it's like bad.
Okay.
But the ghost is hot.
Okay.
He's really cute. And then he was also in this movie Siren. He was also in the movie The Guest that has Dan Stevenson from Downton Abbey in it. Also, we're going to circle back to Dan Stevens because he was in another horror movie we watched over recently that was whatever. We'll talk about it. He was also in this great movie that came out, and it's on Shudder, and it's called Scare Package. And it's one of those movies that's like very aware of itself, obviously. But he is in, and it's also like in little sections, and because it's like a package, you know. And so
is it like an anthology?
Kinda, but like they're all connected. I mean, I guess a lot of anthologies are.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I'm done. Oh, he was also in this cool movie, Sequence Break. It's very video
so
drum.
if you also want to be horny for this guy, watch all these movies.
Oh
all
my
he's
gosh,
talking
Morgan,
about.
that is offensive. I simp.
Okay.
So, anyways, getting back to...
Oh, we watched The Terrifier. That's on Netflix, though.
Yeah, and I'd already talked.
I've never seen it.
You,
That shit's
Morgan, had
crazy.
it.
And the new
second
one's
one.
coming out soon, yeah. Also on Netflix.
Oh, yeah, The Babysitter, which I've talked about at length on this podcast
Yeah,
before,
we have.
is coming out. The sequel, rather, is coming out tomorrow on
Right.
September 10th, and it's called The Babysitter Killer Queen. Samara Weaving is not in it,
Yeah,
which is a
I'm
bummer.
kind of sad about that because I really like her.
But Judah Lewis is, and we stand him. I do.
Work.
He's in his work. He was in ICU. He was in.
oh, yeah. That movie's good.
He was in the summer of '84. He was in some Christmas movie with Kurt Russell. He's great. We love him.
Love that.
We love him, and I'm really excited for that to come out. Also, speaking on movies, I was really excited to come out. Motherfucking Spree, and maybe it's just because
I haven't seen it yet, but I
am
really
in
want
love
to.
with Steve from Stranger
We
Things.
know.
Not
We all
Joe
know.
Nacho Curie.
Right.
But Spree is amazing. It's basically like making fun of like internet influencer culture and like how people spend too much time
Yeah.
online and people care too much about what their image is online. He plays this guy Kurt, and it's about how he's a Uber driver kind of, but it's called Spree. It comes full slap, I will say. It's
Yeah, don't give too much away because it's still really new.
it's really new, and it's really, really good.
Another really new movie that we watched recently, The Rental.
That was
which
not
is
good.
Dave Franco's. Right. It's
That's-
Dave Franco's directorial debut.
And coming back to Dan Stevens from Downton Abbey, he's in it
Oh
also.
yeah, and it's
Stop.
watchable. There's nothing not watchable about it. It's just that it doesn't come full slap at the end.
No, a lot of things I wanted to happen.
It just
didn't.
seems very open ended, if that makes sense.
It's just really.
It's very like up to interpretation, but also just very like blatantly like.
But
It kind of seems like he was just trying to make like a hate piece on Airbnb. Like why you shouldn't fucking use
No,
Airbnb.
yeah, I think
That's
was-
pretty much what it is.
yeah, it's basically like.
Without giving anything away.
Yeah, I won't give anything away. Just think
All
of
the horrible things that you can imagine using Airbnb happen.
yeah, one of the thing that you're most worried about happening when you stay at a B&B happens.
Yeah.
We don't need to say.
Speaking
what
of
it
which,
is.
we were staying in Airbnb and we took some edibles and I was sure that there was a serial killer.
Okay. Also,
I kept
the
making
other
Holly
time-
check under my bed.
Oh yeah, I had to check under Morgan's bed.
You guys got scared too.
Not as much.
Our friend
We watched,
Sharon
what,
was
The
there and her
Strangers?
bed had like ruffles and we were all like, yeah, I'm not checking under that
Oh,
bed.
and she had two beds.
Yeah, she had two twins.
Wow. I was feeling that more than I thought because I like vague. You made me check under my own bed, and I wasn't
I
even
wanted all beds
scared.
checked.
This house was
I
like
get
kind
real
of in the middle of the
paranoid.
nowhere.
It was in the middle of nowhere.
Well, even when we were staying at a cabin surrounded by other people, we were watching Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
no,
and
we were watching the Chamber of Secrets.
yeah. We're just scared of the Chamber of Secrets, and we had to turn it off.
We took so much edible that night. I don't want to like really dive into it, but we had like a candy bar experience and like a tincture experience. And if you have any experience with edibles, you can assume that it was a lot.
Let's just say it's been a long time, and I still don't know how to figure out my tolerance, or I think it's just.
I'm starting to learn mine, and I like it. 'Cause I like that feeling. Like I know a lot of people are probably like, "What?" But like I like that feeling of being like kind of freaked out. Like even though I was a little scared of Harry Potter, I was enjoying every second of it.
I wasn't a fan.
Of me?
I'm just yeah,
Yeah, you were. You were laughing at me
at the time it was, but like, yeah, no, I get it. It was good. It was good times.
You said you had a good time.
I did. Oh, also, I watched the movie Creep while we were
Again?
staying in that cabin. No, when we were staying in that cabin.
That
'cause-
first night when we weren't there yet.
Yeah, that movie's scary.
Yeah, we watched Strangers, and we were gonna watch 3 from Hell, but like our friend Sharon, who came with us, she like didn't like her DVD copy was being weird, so we're actually gonna watch it tonight because it's on Shudder.
Shudder. Yeah, Shudder. If you want to sponsor us, like
Seriously,
we would not say no. Seriously, Black. We would not say no.
Seriously, Black.
So, in theory, or wait, you wanted to talk
In
about.
summation,
You wanted to talk about Lovecraft.
oh my god, you guys! Is anybody else watching Lovecraft Country? It is so good. It I don't want to give too much away because it's like definitely still airing. I think the 4th episode was the most recent one, and I will say the 4th episode was crazy. But it's based on H.P. Lovecraft stories. So yeah, Cthulhu has made an appearance already.
You mean Cthulhu?
Cthulhu, whatever.
Was he hot? Who put him?
No,
Was it Jason?
CGI.
Was it-
But it's really fucking good. And like I don't even need to really say that because like everyone's fucking watching it. Everyone's fucking talking about it. It's good. The hype is real. Watch it. It's worth it. The main guy in it is really attractive, and I like him. And the guy who played Johnny Cochran in American Crime Story, he's in it too, and he's really good.
He's a great actor.
Oh yeah, and the girl from
Impanema?
what?
Who? What?
The girl who's in it's really good too.
Awesome. So, hopefully we'll have another one of these coming out soon.
Yeah, it's our plan.
Well, yeah, we're going to get into some cult stuff.
Y'all know we like to get into the groove.
Some more killers.
And it's September, which means it's spooky season. I don't give a fuck what nobody says. And obviously Illinois thinks so too because it has been so ooky, spooky, wooky. Is wooky problematic?
No, Wookiee is a character.
Right.
Is a
I was like, is that a problematic thing
that
to
is
say?
a species from the Star Wars universe.
It's been very like rainy and cloudy and like chilly, and I love it. I already bought a mum.
Cool. Also, shout out to Shudder. They're having the 61 days of Halloween.
Oh yeah, and
that
you
means
know
it started.
The Family Channel is having 31 days, aka they pretty much just play Hocus Pocus and Nightmare Before Christmas over and motherfucking over again, and I am here for it.
Shut up.
Maria told me last week that it was too early to watch Hocus Pocus, so we didn't.
And you broke up with her.
No, Maria's not my girlfriend; she's my roommate.
If you say so. So, that has been the Sisters Green Podcast. Follow us on all the things. And that's been the show.
That's been the show.